and was drafted into the Army soon after. Pat followed in his father's footsteps to train as a ranger, as Fred Lyons was one of Darby's rangers in World War II. As a long-range reconnaissance patrol ranger in Vietnam, Pat received a Silver Star for valor and a Purple Heart for wounds received in battle. He also received the Combat Infantry Badge and the Honorary Air Assault Badge. Patrick completed his tour of duty at Fort Hood, Texas. Patrick graduated from Pennsylvania State University in 1975 with a degree in marketing and logistics. He retired from Shaw Industries after 33 years, and he and his wife, Anita, moved to their farm in Muldoon in 2013. He is the proud father of 2 sons, Adam and Eric, 2 beautiful daughters-in-law, Heather and Angie, and 9 grandchildren. Patrick has been a member of the American Legion Post in Bradford, Pennsylvania for 53 years, a life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, a life member of Vietnam Veterans of America, and is involved in the Knights of Columbus. Please welcome our own war hero, Pat Lyons.
Wow, I appreciate the opportunity. I was doing pretty good when we went through there. Johnny Cash kind of tore me up. Did a good job. Wish you were here, Johnny. Brought the water up to drink, but I think I'll hold my notes in place better. I listened to some speeches last night. If you missed Gary Sini's on the memorial, you missed a real show. And I can't compete with that, and I'm not going to try. I'm going to try to hold this together. I grew up in a small town, northern Pennsylvania, got drafted, went to Fort Dix, New Jersey for basic training, went on to Fort Polk, Louisiana, or a few of us remember it as Fort Puke, Louisiana. Went on to Fort Lewis, Washington. From there, they sent me to Vietnam. Arrived in Cam Ranh Bay. Cam Ranh Bay, I was told I'm a replacement for the first Cav. And there's only one reason you're a replacement. That's not a good reason. When I got there, they were asking for volunteers for a special unit. And they were looking for people that really weren't married, didn't have a family, wasn't overly concerned about what you were about to do. It was alerts, long-range reconnaissance patrolling. And I joined, or I raised my hand. You never should do that in the Army. Never, I did that. So I became part of the long-range reconnaissance patrolling, E Company, 52nd Infantry, H Company, 75th Ranger Division. As alert, went through extensive training as an understatement. Every member of the team was trained to be a team leader. Every member of the team was trained to be an assistant team leader. You were trained to be a front scout or a rear scout, the RTO, radio telephone operator, or you're trained to be a medic. While going through this training, I was chosen, along with 5 other guys, to go to Special Forces Matrang Recondo School, or Recon Commandos. That school was extremely intense. And we used live ammunition and live Vietnamese as our support group, unfortunately. It was awesome. We also learned to give live blood transfusions in the field. That means both parties are still alive and you give a direct transfusion in the field. We were highly trained. We could do about anything you could think of. Every weapon, we trained on. Whatever we might find in the jungle to use, we would train on. We'd go out and hope we got back. We literally were dropped in somewhere. We'd go over an overflight. The overflight would take an area, we'd figure out where we wanted to land. And we also needed to have a place to hopefully get picked up at a few days later. We'd go out for 5 to 7 days. Carried enough water, ammo, and food. And that was 170 150 to 170 pound backpacks. And I'm kind of jumping back and forth on this. So, excuse me for doing that, but that's the way I remember it. We went through the training programs. We trained to get off a helicopter. And if any chopper pilots here today, I don't know why you guys couldn't land and let us off. 10 feet up in the air and you're still flying. It's a little difficult to get off those choppers. Somehow we managed to do it. The good news is they would actually land and let us back on. So that worked out well for most of us. In May of 1967, I was assigned as assistant team leader of Team 1 Zulu. They were looking to find where the North Vietnamese were crossing over and going down towards the city of Hue. They said there's a battalion out there, somewhere between 300 and 400. We need to find them. They sent out 3 teams. I was the team that got chosen to go to the middle. We went out, landed, and one of the things you do after you land and get off that helicopter is you don't move. Go out about 10 yards to the helicopter, and everybody sits down. Everybody faces away from the helicopter. And you smell what's going on. You know how far away you can smell fish cooking in the jungle? If you don't hear animals, you should be very scared and very nervous. You should hear insects, you should hear animals, you should smell things that smell like a jungle, not somebody's cooking stuff. We'd sit there for at least an hour, then we'd move off. The landing zone that we picked was about a day's march from a saddle that we had seen while we were flying over. And that saddle was an awesome place to cross over. We're talking about a triple canopy up here. You can't see all the way to the ground. So we figured that's where they have to cross through, that saddle. So that's where we headed. The next day we got up early, and again, we did nothing for that first hour. We sat there and listened and watched to make sure that we weren't found. Then we moved out towards where our destination. 750 meters, it took us 6 hours to get there. That's walking 7 football fields. I have no idea what the temperature was, but the humidity was 150 at least. Unbelievable. So we're going along, and we get through there. And just as we get to the edge, a small opening in the jungle, we took a rest. And at that point, we found the RTO got on his radio to announce, tell camp where we were, what we were doing, and how things were going so far. And his radio didn't work. I got the spare battery out. I always carry the spare battery. I always carry the spare radio. And I'm standing here because I carried it. The battery didn't work either. So I got the spare radio. So I get the headset out, hang it on my collar, and I announce back to headquarters where we are, what we're doing, and tell them we have a dead radio. At that time, I looked over at the team leader, and he's got a look on his face that I realized immediately what it meant. There was no sound. It was dead still in the jungle. That is not a sound you want to hear. We both looked at each other and decided we have to move now. We looked at a tree line, more of a brush line than a tree line, that went straight up to the saddle that we wanted to see. So we headed towards that brush line. We got to the brush line and realized, okay, I went just past the brush line. There was a pretty good sized tree there. I got down next to the tree. The other guys were coming in behind me. The last man in, the dead silence was broken by the sound of an AK-47. And our rear scout was wounded badly. The rest of the team moved to take care of the rear scout. I started providing cover fire and just ran right across the side of the hill towards the saddle. Weren't sure where they were coming from, didn't see anybody, but they were shooting, and they were shooting at us. We kind of went that way for a few minutes, and they moved him off to the side. As I'm looking around, and I'm realizing that what I'm sitting next to is the side of a bomb crater. And between me and that saddle I'm trying to watch up there is a bomb crater that's about 50, 75 yards wide, and I can't see the bottom of it. I don't know what's down there. What bothers me most is something could come out of there, get down in there, and I can't see it. I don't know when they get to me. I take a grenade and throw it down there. I don't know if I hit anything, don't know. not getting up to look either. So within a few minutes, fired a couple more clips of ammo up there. We fire clips of ammo in the lurks. Every other round was a tracer. It looks like it's a machine gun to the enemy. So it appears that I'm shooting a machine gun. You know what the number one target is? Actually, the number one target is the RTO. Number two target is the machine gun. And I'm shooting a machine gun at the enemy. That makes me the highest visible target out there. Not a good thing. At that point in time, I called in. I've got the only radio. I called in for medevac. Medevac's on its way. I called in for gunship for support. And I called in for possible extraction. This is not good. I want out of here. That didn't work. They told us to sit, pay attention to what was going on. I was trained to do that, and we did that. What I realized, though, is I had not seen the people that were helping Gerald McConnell, wounded rear scout. Don't know what happened to him. I was alone. Don't know what happened to the rest of the team. Several minutes went by. I got the medevac on the way in. Medevac's over the top of me. He can't find me. They shoot that medevac up something fierce. They were waiting for that medevac, and they just shot it almost out of the sky. It turns and flies away. As it's flying away, I hear him say, "I see the other members." And he throws a stretcher off the chopper that lands right next to him. So I've got some idea they're down there someplace, but they're down there, I'm up here. And about that time, out of nowhere, the gunship's talking to me, and my team leader shows up, comes around behind me, lays down next to me, asks me who I've talked to and what I've done. And I repeated what I just told you. He said, "Great, the gunship's on its way in." I said, "He's on the line right now." He said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to pop smoke." He said, "Don't pop smoke. That gives away exactly where you are." I'm going to use a strobe light. He rolls over on his back, aims a strobe light towards the helicopter coming in, and turns the button on. Every time that strobe light popped, they shot and hit him every single time. I reached up, I knocked the strobe light out of his hand, I pulled him down, I got my hand on his chest, trying to find something to stop the bleeding. And do I shoot? Do I stop the bleeding? What do you do? So I'm pulling him down, and I realized there's nothing more I can do for him. He has already passed away that quickly. So I do the same thing I've done for several minutes. I shoot a couple more clips across the top of the hill, and I throw a couple more grenades down in the bomb crater out in front of me. And it's kind of one of those things. By that time, I get a phone call. Chopper's coming in. He says, "I get a phone call. I'm sorry, this is on the radio though." He says, "What happened to the strobe light?" I said, "There'll be no strobe light. We're going to go with smoke. Identify the color." He said, "Okay." So he comes in. I throw the smoke out. I'm looking up, and all I see is blue shirts and black pants coming at me towards that bomb crater. I didn't throw the smoke. I rolled the smoke. I thought it was all over for me. Well, he fired, I want to tell you, if you've ever been there, and I know some of you guys have, hearing all those rockets go off just a few feet above your head, thousands of rounds of ammunition coming out of this minigun, just literally empty shells falling on top of you, and they're hot, by the way. The first or second rocket that he fired hit the tree next to me, blew me up in the air. I was hurt. I was wounded about a half hour earlier. Something, I don't know, a rocket or grenade or something went off, and I'd been hit in the leg, and I noticed that on my headset there was blood down it. I didn't know what that was. I did see my leg and my arm slowly turning red. So okay. And you know, all that's going on, you really don't think about it. If you've been there, I know you know what I'm talking about. I hope none of you have been there. I really, truly hope none of you have been there. So, gunship's coming in, and that first round hit that, and he went up the hill. And I heard a very tentative voice come over my radio. He said, "Do I have anybody to talk to down there?" I said, "You do." He said, "Are you hurt?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" I said, "Do it again." He said, "Okay, I know where you are now." He came in and expended all ordnance on that helicopter, and he tore up the side of that mountain all the way up to that saddle. It was just unbelievable. And again, if you've been there, you understand what I'm talking about. So, I'm bleeding pretty good at this point. I'm trying to stop the blood here and there and trying to figure out what to do. And I get the radio goes off again as the command center out of Camp Evans. And out of Camp Evans, he said, we've got an QRF force out to get you. QRF is a quick reaction force, 12 to 15 guys. The only thing they're carrying is a weapon, ammo, and water. The helicopter comes in fast, they jump off, they come over, theoretically get you, put you on a helicopter, and get out while these guys are all giving you cover fire. Well, they came in, the only clearing was 200 yards away. When they hit the ground, 6 of them dropped. That was it. The rest of them stood guard over those 6. Nobody would come and get them. Medevac said, we got shot up too bad. Last time in there, we're not coming back out to pick up anybody, regardless. So the gunship said, okay. They went out, made a pass, unloaded all their ordnance, and pulled those 6 wounded guys into their helicopter. There are some real heroes out there. The next gunship came in, he expended his ordnance, he picked up 4 or 5 more. And I'm sitting up on the hillside listening to all this go on 200 yards from me. Good news for me is they're paying all their attention to what's going on over there, and they're kind of letting me alone. But I do keep throwing my grenade down in. I don't know what's down in that one crater. That just kept worrying the daylights out of me. And I also realized I'm not moving very fast from where I am. I'm not going to be able to move much at all. The third helicopter came in, picked them up, took out the last group of my rescue team. On the radio, I get word that they're sending in a company to try to get me out. Quick reaction team wasn't enough. So the company that's coming out is the 196th Alpha Company. Obviously, I'll never forget them. They came in, they landed in the same area at 200 yards. Guess what happened to them? They got torn up really bad when they landed. And they're trying to get their wounded out. They have the same problem. Medevac will not come back out. Everybody got shot up too bad, and nobody will come out and get their wounded out of there. That's not good. So I'm doing the same thing. Unfortunately, I now have 2 guns. I have a team leader's rifle, which was a CAR 15 and not a 16. So I'm shooting his, I move over 2 or 3 yards and I shoot mine. I go back over a couple of yards, I shoot his, and I throw a grenade. I did that for quite some time. I hear a voice behind me. I don't know where he came from. I can give you his name, but I'm not going to do that. He came up to me. Can I help you out? I said, take the other guy first. The reason I can tell you that is because my wife was on the phone listening to this conversation when the guy said that. That was 30 years later that he told me that's what he said. I don't remember. Take the other guy first. About that time, there was another explosion. Another grenade, another rocket, whatever it was. And this guy jumped up and ran down the mountain. Left me. I'm up there again. I've learned to be a lot by myself lately. I pretty much stay that way. It's just what I did. So it's almost dark now. This has been going on for about 15, 16 hours. I've lost a lot of blood, and I don't feel real well. Another voice. And at this point, I'm thinking, I don't know who's coming up. So he convinced me he was an American. Crawled out of the jungle, got up to me. He looked at the other guy, who was Bob Whitten, by the way. He said he didn't make it. He said, can you walk? And I said, there's not a chance. He said, okay. By the way, this gentleman's name is Eddie Kent. If Eddie Kent had not got there, I would not be alive today. It's that easy. I've met Eddie, great guy. Except that when I was in the Army and I was on these missions, I'm 6'5" and 235 pounds. Eddie Kent is 5'5" and 130 pounds. I've got about 100 pounds. So he reached up to hold my leg, and his words was, your leg went squish, squish. Reached around my back to try to roll me over. And all he did was pull back a bloody hand. I couldn't move. He said, okay. I held up the only arm that would move. He grabbed it, and I kind of pushed off with the other leg, and he dragged me through the jungle under the machine gun. At this point, they were just steady scanning above me by a couple feet. The machine gun just never quit. It just kept firing. And I became oblivious to it. I remember it happened, but I really don't remember it. It just was there. Somewhere shortly into the jungle, I passed out. And Eddie picked me up and carried me back to his platoon place where he set me down. I woke up a few minutes later, maybe an hour later, I don't know that. When I woke up, there was a medic working on my leg. The medic asked me if I wanted Novocaine. I said, I do not. First of all, I don't know where I'm wounded. You don't know where I'm wounded. I don't need Medicaid. I don't need any Novocaine or morphine, whatever you want to give me. I don't need it. I said, the truth is, between the pain and the blood, I'm going to pass out here in a minute anyways. Guy next to me from the platoon that came in, he said, that guy's alert. Maybe he can help us. Problem is, it's now dark. And they had a fixed-wing aircraft come over us, and I know there's a name for this particular aircraft. I don't remember what it is. He's dropping flares. Problem is, he's dropping flares directly over us. That means we're lit up, and the jungle around us is black, which means the North Vietnamese are moving right in on us. He was trying to give them an azimuth direction from a specific point on the map, go this way or that way. This is a fixed-wing aircraft. He has no idea where you are, and has no idea what you're talking about with an azimuth. I said, you need to change. He flies north, south, east, and west. He goes left, right, 50 yards, 100 yards, north, south. That's what the directions you want to give him. Plane came back around. I heard him give the directions. I passed out again. Next time I woke up, all kinds of chopper sounds. People moving and scurrying. Two guys are trying to put me on a stretcher. As they're loading me on the stretcher, Lieutenant's coming over towards us. The guy says he wants to thank you for your help last night. I'm thinking, okay. Unfortunately, the Lieutenant stood up at my feet, and when he did, the sniper dropped him dead at my feet. Two guys picked me up. The lieutenant's laying there. They load me on the stretcher, put me on a helicopter, literally bounced me through the jungle. The guy keeps apologizing. I know this hurts, I know this hurts. He just bounced me through the jungle and loaded me on a helicopter. Take me down to Camp Evans, the medic center down there. I went there, Captain Gooding was there. Then he started to work on me, and some guy wants to interrogate me, and he hollered at him, just let them work. We'll find out what happened later. So I saw one of the guys that was on the team with me, and Bob Teagle, he was an arm and a sling, so I knew at least one team member did make it back, and somehow he got back there. So they sent me from there, they sent me up to the Nang, and they're working on me up there. And they're trying to sew me back together, and they're trying to find out where I was hit, and they're trying to get all this steel out of me. It's in my foot, it's in my leg, it's in my back, it's in my arm, upper back, lower back. You can put your fist at the bottom of my spine anytime you want to. Most of my leg is gone. They take me and send me to Tripler Hospital in Hawaii. Bad news is they put me in the amputee ward. That is not where you want to be. I've been there for a day or two. The doctor and nurse come in. They decide they can save my leg, and they start working on it. They take all the skin off of one leg and fill in the holes on the other leg in my back. That leg hurts a whole lot worse, by the way. If you've ever had a skin graft, it's not something you want to do. From there, they sent me to Washington, D.C. That was kind of a fun trip. I get there. I'm there for about 60 days where the doctor's working on me, pulling steel stitches out. That's 108 steel stitches that they pulled out of me. That's not fun either. So I'm up there. I've decided well enough to go back to active duty. They sent me to Fort Hood. Fort Hood, I've become the weapons platoon sergeant, and I'm training guys. I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm training or not. The The one good thing that came out of Fort Hood is I met my wonderful wife, a Baylor student at that time, and that's the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. Thank you. Let me turn a page or two here, because if I don't, I'm going to repeat myself a number of times. I'll fake it. I don't want to, it's going to blow away anyways. From Fort Hood, I got out of the Army, 69, and I went back. I went to Penn State, got in there. When I got home, first thing my father tells me, who was one of Darby's Rangers, he says, "We need to talk." I said, "Okay." And he says, "Here's the truth and the story. Taking the week off, they have to give you your job back. You're a returning veteran. They have no choice. Between the government and the union, you have a job. Don't worry about it." He said, "But here's part of the problem. When I came home from World War II, I go to a bar. I couldn't buy a drink. I take the mother out for dinner. I couldn't buy dinner. I was a hero. They took care of us. The truth is, my father said, I did the same thing. I bought a guy a drink. I knew he'd been overseas, whether it was south, down the Lyons, wherever he was. I bought his family dinner. He told me, you need to keep your mouth shut. This is not what you want to tell anybody, where you've been or what you've done. I was pretty proud of what I did. I thought I did a good job when I got home. So I go to Penn State. I get to Penn State. They recommend I go down to the main campus in the vet center down there. They didn't call it a fraternity, they just call it a vet center. I get down there, guy invites me in. The first question, the only question he asked me, "Are you a Vietnam veteran?" I told him I was. I walk into a room, it's a pretty good sized room, a number of sofas. He said, "The water's over there, the hot dog's over there, and the popcorn's over there. If you don't say anything, nobody will talk to you. If you want to talk, those that want to talk will talk to you." He handed me a green t-shirt. On that green t-shirt, there's a World War II helmet with 2 toes of boots sticking out the bottom of it. "Keep your head down and shuffle on." I did that for 40 years. Because I was afraid I wouldn't do what my father said, and I was way too highly trained to get in a fight with somebody. Well, it was 2010. My wife decided she's been getting texts, emails from guys that was in the service with, guys that of the first cab. And they would ask me to come to a convention, come to a reunion. They've been doing this for 40 years, but I refused. It didn't seem like something I wanted to talk about. Nobody else wanted to talk about it. Why would they want to talk about it? But she says, if we go to Minnesota, I can go see the mall on the mainland, largest mall in the country. I can see the Legos, the largest Lego place in the world. I can go see American Doll. I now have a granddaughter. So she talks me into going. So I get there. As I walk in, they tell us we have the LERPs and a special room. Hospitality suite just for LERPs. That seemed kind of rude to me. So we go down. We walk in the room, and the first guy in the room says, "Wow, that's Pat Lyons." The next guy said, "He did live. He's alive." They will hear the rest of the story. From there, we have to go all the way to 2022, March, in Emmonsville. I walk into a meeting. I've been going to the Vietnam Veterans meeting up there for a couple of months. They introduced one of the guys came in. He was with the 196 in Vietnam. I said, wow, I need to talk to him, see what's going on. I'd like to thank those guys. I didn't meet any kid. I didn't tell you. My wife and I stopped off. He's outside of Birmingham, Alabama, and I wouldn't be here without him. We talked to each other at Christmas, the few holidays a year. But again, I wouldn't be here without him, so I have to thank him. So at that point in time, I go to this meeting, we're talking. And we're talking back and forth, and sure enough, he was at Camp Evans, and he started to listen to what I'm saying. He was actually at the Fire Control Center that day. He heard everything I just told you. I know Roy is here today, but Roy Hockstead lives here in Schulenburg. He was on the other end of that telephone, that radio. He heard every word. And his words were, "You lived?" I did. Yeah. I know what the rest of it says. Basically, I just listened to, if you didn't hear Sinise's memorial last night, you missed something. He did an awesome job. All the stuff I've heard today, I can't say anything extra about the millions that died to give us the right to be here today. And for me to talk. This is an awesome group of people. And I didn't hear the things that I heard in other parts of the country when I've been here. I've heard more positive things. I'd be proud to live here. I am. The other thing I want to bring up is there is an honor flight. One of the honor flight last time I got to go on, again, thanks to my wife. And that is one awesome flight. If you haven't been on an awesome flight, I know several of the veterans from Schulenburg have been on. I hope all of you get to go. If you haven't been, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, they treat you like you can't ever believe you've been treated before. Somebody truly welcomes you home and understands what you've been through. And this is a group of people that understand all the way back, World War II, Korea. And by the way, the Korea Memorial is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I spent more time there than I did down at the walls, for obvious reasons. But if you see, make sure you thank a veteran today. Say welcome home to those from Vietnam. We'll never forget those from Korea. Guys, I really appreciate your time today. I hope I haven't taken up your time today. Thank you very much.